Hi friends, welcome to AWS DevOps sessions. In this session, we are going to learn about Docker tool. What is meant by Docker tool and where we are going to use this Docker tool and how to use this Docker tool. Everything we are going to discuss in these sessions. Okay. Generally, as you know, Docker is used to containerize the application. Here, what is the necessity of containerization? So, if you want to understand in a better way, first of all, you just need to understand some concepts. Here, I'm going to show to you in the slide. Here, you just need to understand about the architecture. We have the two types of architectures are available. One is monolithic and another one is microservices. What is monolithic? If you want to understand about the monolithic architecture, I'm going to show to you in the slide in order to understand in a better way. Here, suppose if you assume you have a web application. If your web application consists of n number of services and all of these services are running under single server and all of the servers having single database, that will be called as monolithic. Is monolithic is advantage or not? Yes, because of by using single server I can be able to manage all of my services. That will be advantage because of here it is reducing the infrastructure cost, the maintenance cost, everything is reduced. But what is the disadvantage? Why we are going to the use the microservices? Here, assume, for example, I'm going to take the Paytm web application as an example. Here, as you know, in Paytm application, we have the n number of services are there. I can be able to pay the electricity bill, I can be able to pay the mobile bill, and I can be able to book the movie tickets. There are a lot of services which are running inside of Paytm application. Suppose if I am using the monolithic architecture for the Paytm web application, suppose there is some issue going on with one of the services which is running inside of the Paytm application. Because of that service, all the services are went down. Like the application went down. If application went down, what happened? Obviously, the services which are running under the application will went down. But here it is going to impact my business because of some issue in the one of the service. It is going to impact all the other services which are running under the same server. So that's why there is a business impact. Here we are looking the alternative. How that will be overcome? So in that scenario, it is going to come microservices. What is the difference between the microservices? Here, if an application consists of n number of services, each service have their individual server, and at the same time, each service have their individual database. Even though here, if one of the service has been failed, it is not going to impact the other services which are running under the same application. Here, it is not going to impact my business. If any one of the service down, it is going to impact that particular service only. It is not going to impact the other services. Here my redundancy has been reduced or not. But here the problem is what? If I have the 10 services, I need to make the 10 servers. It is going to increase the infrastructure cost. It will be a burden or not? Yes, obviously it is a burden because of instead of using the single server, here I am going to use the 10 servers. That will create a impact how the infrastructure and the maintenance cost is going to increase rapidly. If I want to maintain the 10 servers, I need to maintain some space. There are, suppose for example, I am going to take the 10 servers, but in real time, there are hundreds, thousands of servers are there. So here, there is increase in the infrastructure cost. So I just want to minimize the infrastructure cost. At the same time, I just want to use the microservices. How that will be possible? Yes, here the Docker comes into picture. Not only Docker, generally some organizations are going to plan to deploy their services over the virtual machines. Okay, what will happen if an organization deploy over the virtual machines? If I am going to deploy my service over the virtual machine, it is going to have the OS. I need to separately deploy the OS for each virtual machine. But coming to Docker, what it will happen? It is going to use the same OS which I am going to host. Means if I install the Docker engine on the one server, it is not going to use the separate OS files. It have the OS files, but it is very negligible. It is going to use the host OS. By using the host OS, it can be able to run the service which I want. How that will be done? I'm going to show now to you. Like, what is the power of virtualization? Here we just need to understand about the virtualization containerization. Virtualization is nothing but effective utilization of hardware by using some software. What are the virtualization softwares are available? Suppose if you take Microsoft, it is Hyper-V. By using the Hyper-V virtualization, you can be able to create the virtual machines or whatever the service which are required. Suppose if you think ESXi means like VMware. ESXi is the hypervisor software which can be used to virtualize the means we are going to deploy Hyper-V or ESXi on the bare metal. Bare metal is nothing but the empty server. There is no OS has been installed. It is nothing but bare metal. Once we had installed the virtualization software on top of the bare metal, from above on top of the virtual layer, I can be able to create the virtual machines. Okay, containerization is nothing but packing of application along with its dependencies. If I want to run the service, okay, if I want to run the service, and in order to run the service, I have some dependencies. If I am going to pack the application along with the dependencies, that will be called as containerization. Here, Docker is a tool which is used to create the containers, and with the help of the Docker, I can be able to containerize the application. Hope you guys understood. Because containerization is nothing but packing of application along with its dependencies. Okay. First of all, you just need to more detail about the Docker. What do you mean by Docker? It is a open source platform. Anybody can be used to use this Docker, and at the same time I can be able to run this Docker container on any platform. Like I can be able to run on Windows platform, I can be able to run on Linux platform, I can be able to run on Mac OS as well. But the Docker engine is natively runs on Linux platform only, and the most advantage by using the Docker is it is lightweight. If you compare the virtual machine, it is having the OS files. It is somewhat weight, but if I compare with the virtual machine, the Docker containers are lightweight because it is having the OS files, but it is very negligible in light. It is using the same OS files which are hosted, host OS. It is using the host OS in order to run the process. That's why the Docker is lightweight. And if you want to understand about the Docker in an effective manner, first of all, you just need to understand the Docker components. What are the Docker components we have? Here mainly we have the 4 components. The first one is Docker client. So what is the purpose of Docker client? With the help of the Docker client only, I will be able to communicate with the Docker engine. Okay, what are the commands which I am going to execute? I can be able to communicate with the Docker client only. And the Docker client will be able to communicate with the Docker daemon and can be executed the commands which I am going to use, which I want to execute on the server. Okay, the Docker host. Docker host is nothing but the machine on which I had installed the Docker engine. Whatever the machine I had installed the Docker engine, that will be called as a Docker host. What do you mean by Docker daemon? Here Docker daemon is nothing but it can be able to maintain the containers and services. Docker daemon runs inside of host OS and it can be able to communicate with the host OS daemon, and it can manage to run the services under the container. If I can be able to run the containers, inside of the container the service is going to run. It is going to manage the both. And what do you mean by Docker registry? Docker registry is nothing but it is a scalable open source storage where I can be used to store the Docker images. Here, if I want to create any kind of container, first of all, I need to create an image. From image, I can be able to create a container. If I want to save the images, nothing but Docker images, here Docker registry is a free source. It is openly scalable and I can be able to store my Docker images over the Docker registry. Okay. What do you mean by Docker images? We will see in the upcoming sessions. Here these are the basic commands. If I want to install the Docker on a mission, here it is the command m install docker-y. If I am using the Red Hat flavor, I am going to use the m install docker-y. It is going to install the Docker on mission. And in the practical session, we are going to discuss each and everything, how we are going to work, how we need to install the Docker, everything we are going to discuss in the practical session. Okay guys, here in this session, you just understand what is Docker. Docker is a containerization tool which is used to create the container. What are the main components? Docker client, Docker daemon, Docker registry, Docker host. Okay. So this is all the theoretical about the Docker, and while we are performing the Docker practical session, then you will let you know the basic things, how we can be able to manage the Docker, everything you will let you know. Okay, the theoretical session is done, and in the next coming session, I am going to take the practical session about the Docker installation. Okay, hope you guys understood the session. Thank you so much for joining into my session. And do not forget to subscribe my channel, and please share with your friends as well, whoever is looking to enhance their skills over the cloud technologies and DevOps. And thank you again for joining my sessions, and I will meet up you in the next session with a new topic. Until signing off, thank you, bye bye.